This week we watched Mickey 17, written and directed by Bong Joon-Ho.
To me, it was typical Bong Joon-Ho movie, science fiction-esque, after Snowpiercer, with a lot of comedy in it. Like he's good at that. He did that with Parasite as well. Kind of a black comedy, much like this is. Also both he has a trend of undercurring like political and social themes in his movies that for some people they'll go over their heads. So I picked up on those. Like they weren't really subtle at all. From the little planet being named Niflheim, Norse god of mythology. Then Mark Ruffalo kind of playing it very Trump-esque. He's also been very outspoken with his political views. Playing it really, Republican-esque in his performance. Um, of course, Robert Pattinson is one of those actors who can kind of somehow shifts tones really quickly, embodies any role. He's very fluid. I thought this is his character work, especially his voice work in this movie was very good. Ability to play two different characters side by side and give them each different distinct personalities, not just in uh their lines they're saying, but little quirks that their body language has. Very excellent. Very underrated when it comes to that. But yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I can see why it people didn't really like it as much, especially coming off the success of Parasite, though. But I still enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I did enjoy this one as well. I love Robert Pattinson, have been a fan for a very long time since I was a very young lass. So I am very invested in the Pattinson cinematic universe. I will watch almost anything that he's in, to be honest. But I was super excited about this because Bong Joon-ho is like one of like the top directors in the business working right now. He is just like to do a film like Snowpiercer and then follow it up with Parasite, like back to back hits, like that's pretty cool. Um, and a lot of his earlier work I really want to get into because I haven't seen a lot of his earlier work, but I really want to watch that. But I remember the effect that watching Parasite had on me when I saw it, and the fact that it went on to do so well critically and in terms of the box office. I just was like, yes, I'm invested in whatever he's going to do. I'm going to watch it. Um, and although this isn't like Parasite in the same way, where it's
Mhm.
like very pointed social commentary. I think that it is still in a way. It's just like that mixed with the sci-fi. Maybe people got, I don't know, a little lost and or put off by like the spaciness of it or the fact that it was pointing to like real life politics in a lot of ways. And maybe, I don't know. I'm not really sure why other people didn't like it. Like I know that for me, even though this isn't like one of my favorites of his, I do still think that it's a really good movie. And I think that one of the reasons for that is Robert Pattinson. I feel like, I mean, Robert is doing an accent in this movie. He's doing an accent in a big way. But I thought that that was great. I thought that was such a great choice just to like do something very different because I think the whole point of the spaceship and like everyone who lives on it is that they're come from different places. So like he could have done his own accent, but I think that like the fact that he chose to do something different. Um, and I've heard a lot of English actors say something similar where it's like they don't like working in their own accents. They would rather do something different. Maybe I guess it helps them in terms of the character of just like transforming into something different. But not only was he playing that and the accent work that went along with it, but he was also playing another version of himself that is kind of slightly different than the 17 versions or the ones prior to that. That kind of all seem to have the same personality. 18 does seem to have like a very different personality. So it was him playing two very different characters. Um, which I thought was really cool. And I thought that that showed his skill, his ability of performance. And like officially, I don't think anyone could ever discredit at this point can discredit like his ability as an actor. I think he's proven himself. Um, plenty by now. But also the rest of the cast was just great. Like I love Naomi Aki. I think she's
Mhm.
fantastic. Um, I love Stephen Yoon. Love Toni Collette. Love Toni Collette down. Like love that woman. And Mark Ruffalo, like I love seeing Mark doing these different things now that he's not doing the Marvel stuff. Like he's just like totally embodying like completely different characters. And I'm obsessed with his post-Marvel glow up, in my opinion. I think he's doing great. I know he's done like other great roles before and while he was doing the Marvel stuff, but like
Mhm.
this post-Marvel glow up, I'm obsessed with it. So honestly, I thought all the performances were fantastic. I liked the story. I loved that it was a dark comedy. Like I loved that I was like laughing during some of these like inherently violent kind of really off-kilter, off-putting stuff. Um, I love the social commentary. I thought it was so poignant to what's going on today. It was shot wonderfully, like the VFX stuff, like oh, seamless. Like I don't know. I think I don't know. Maybe people were just expecting like Parasite Part Two in this
Mhm.
film, and so they just didn't feel the same way when they watched this one. But for me, as a sci-fi girly, as like a person who like loves this kind of stuff, I was like very into it. I thought it was great.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of, you know, wondering about the whole, the production of this movie, the process that went to it. Because it seems like to me, of again, Netflix or Warner Brothers had originally had the rights to this movie, and then they got shopped to Netflix instead. Um, but I'm thinking like, most of Bong's movies are mostly for the Korean market. you know,
Mm.
and no, and this a lot of the K dramas and stuff I've watched on like Netflix or other platforms, they all or a lot of Asian cinema or shows. They kind of had a trend for a while of using space and planetary exploration in a lot of the pictures. But I'm also questioning like it seems like this project got it started with he said the idea for a movie and then quickly off the success of like I think this was announced in development in like 2002 this movie. And I think
Mm.
that's literally like a couple years off the success of Parasite. And I think the studio just signed it and said, "All right, Bong, you made Parasite. What you got?" I think kind of trying to beat the rush or still buy into the buzz of the success of Parasite. But it feels like this movie to me it was not really designed with the American film market in mind. You know, I feel black comedies and a lot of the social comedy don't really do well in American cinema unless you're like three billboards out of Ellen I can't even pronounce the last name of that movie. But the comedic black comedies is kind of hit or miss in the American film landscapes to a degree. Um, so I think that probably is playing into why this movie is not doing as well. And also, I think the marketing for this movie, we didn't really have much marketing for it. Other than me and you talking about it, other film spaces, I haven't heard anybody talking about it. The only other thing I knew about this movie as far as to see it was like, oh, because like AMC and stuff I do. I thought, oh, we're doing early screenings and stuff like a week before the movie goes out. Like other than that, I heard very little noise for the movie, like no commercials. Like you think a movie like this, you have a Bong Ho, you have Robert Pattinson, you have like Naomi Aki, you have Mark Ruffalo. Like this movie would have had a Super Bowl commercial, and it didn't. Like stuff like that did not happen for this project at all.
Yeah, and I think that that's probably why, and then we'll talk about it a little later when we talk about the numbers. But I feel like that's really the reason why this film isn't doing what I think it should be doing,
Yeah,
or maybe what it would have done in like 2014 or something like that, where you had like there was the atmosphere, the film atmosphere was just a different place back then, where you could put a movie like this out, not have to do like a ton of marketing and stuff, and
yeah,
it would still be able to perform. But I think that because the film landscape has changed so much, because it was delayed a couple of times, I know I was like waiting for this movie for a long time, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. And then when it did come out, the marketing was just like not, it was very limited. Like it only happened within like the last couple of weeks. And as we spoke about, I don't know if it was last week or the week before that, with a movie like Wicked or something like that, where they were on a press tour for a year.
Yeah.
I feel like that is where we are at now, where it's like you have to constantly be pushing your film in front of people's faces for months and months and months. Like you can't kind of slip it in, slide it in there for like a couple of weeks before it, starts showing. Like the work you have to do for a movie of that budget, like you just have to do so much work. And that does not seem to me like that's Bong's vibe, that's Rob's vibe. That doesn't seem like that's any one of their vibes. Like, doing huge marketing pushes does not seem like that's something that they think about. Um, so I feel like the marketing team, whoever was behind that at Warner Brothers or whoever, it's like that should have been a huge consideration for a movie of this size because like you can't, everything has changed now. Everything has changed. And
Yeah.
so it's like you would think that a cast like this, a director like Bong, a movie like this would grab people's attention really quickly, but like I don't know, everything you just it's just like the work you have to put in is so much and you have to do it for such a long time that like the way that they went about it, it wasn't gonna yield the best results
Mm.
in terms of, box office, which is a shame because this movie is really good. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that like more people aren't seeing it. But the thing with Parasite as well is like I didn't see like billboards or like any marketing stuff on my Instagram or anything like that for that movie. I heard about it because of other film spaces, like,
Yeah.
and that's the reason why I wanted to go watch it. You couldn't even see it in regular theaters.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just think in terms of like who Bong is and like how his career has gone, it definitely just feels like if they wanted this movie to do like mega numbers like their other big hits had, the marketing team would have to kind of carry the load of that and really stretch it and like make it like super obvious that this movie is coming out because the people involved, it just doesn't seem like that's something that they're invested
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. I mean, but other than those inconsistencies, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Like I said, I'm a big fan of like sci-fi and stuff like that. Like I thought the socio-political themes in this movie were spot on. Like not to relate it to what's going on in the U.S., but you kind of have to in a way. You have the issue of these migrant workers or people not wanting to do work. And, there's a push for low career earners or unskilled labor. They're viewed as expendable. You have, our Patterson pack character Mickey 17. He's expendable on the ship where, they say, oh, if he dies, they don't care. We just pull another one. Like he's just a consumable. It doesn't really matter. You have things like that. You got of course, Ruffalo's performance as, a failed presidential senatorial candidate, going on to like lead out this colonization campaign, which is funny because if you know the history of a lot of colonial projects, way back when, they're either funded by governments or they're also funded by churches as well. The Puritans came here for that reason. So it's kind of funny how they integrated that into that, and they kept referring it instead of the church, kept trying to refer to it the company anyway, because a lot of
Hmm.
these colonial projects when they were coming to here to this the Americas, they weren't saying it was run by the church, they were calling it the companies. So I love that little historical, you know, tidbit with it. And even you have the social cues of him, wanting to create a superior race of human beings on the planet, his ranting and raving against the natives, calling them aliens, and Naomi Ack is like, you idiot, we're the aliens, they're the natives of this planet, which, calls to mind, the constant interactions colonials always had with the native speakers to a country. They were the savages, they were the foreigners, just because you had superior intellect and stuff like that. So I loved like really those elements that like it's really piqued my interest, how much he took from real life and historical inspirations to draw into a sci-fi comedy.
Yeah, and I feel like he probably didn't even need to go that far back. Like everything that's happening right now with immigration, with Christian values being heavily pushed into our government and the decisions that are made there. Having someone, I don't know, it was kind of giving Elon with the whole let's just go to space, but like nothing works.
Yeah,
Um, and like start a new civilization. And the way that he at that dinner scene was really interesting. Where he was talking to I think she's a Russian, maybe
Mira.
from the Slavic. countries. Yeah, that woman
Mm.
who had lost her best friend, maybe her lover. It was giving sapphic. I'm not really sure, but um and he was just like, yeah, you would be perfect to start, our new civilization and you're pure, like, blah, blah, like very Aryan race mess. Like,
Eugenics, her
yeah,
intelligence, yeah.
which is how a lot of these tech billionaires and folks like that, how they speak, how they think about things, like the fact that they have like underground bunkers, like ready in case of what, it was just giving all of that. And even I found, I mean, Mark Ruffalo was like his character was like very kind of, you can see the parallels between him and other figures, like right-leaning kind of people like that. But I thought Toni Collette was really interesting in her character because I felt like that a person who like appears to be nice at first or like seems to be friendly or like trying to be like politically correct when she was like trying to, help him out and say, oh, don't say mankind, say humankind, like say, who seems like they're, all about like just, trying to do like a natural, like effortless way of living. And then, but they are just as toxic and terrible as like the people that they're married to and do not care about other people, just care about themselves and enriching themselves and furthering their own, desires or whatever that may be. Um, I found that really interesting. I found that the whole concept of being an expendable and the fact like that you could just kill off one identity and print out another one because no one sees you as valuable is very like indicative of like capitalism and just the fact that like if you don't want to do the job, there's someone else who can do it that will pay nothing. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that like every time Mickey messed up, he, they're not getting money, but like he when his food would get reduced. And so he would just be like hungry and like living on crumbs, like literally just it's just really everything that was in there is the reason why I love Bong's
Yeah.
movies because it just speaks to so many different things on so many different levels. And like the more you think about it, the more it just hits like, yeah, this is the world that we're living in. It's really awful.
Yeah.
That's
Even,
why you need a humor.
yeah, you need the comedy to like to give you the
Yeah.
bright spots. Like it's funny, like as you said, it's sci-fi, it's supposed to be futuristic, but they're still dealing with the same stupid problems humanity has always had for billions of years. Like no matter how much we evolve and get smarter, we still reduce to our basic instincts. There's always has to be kings, lords, and serfs, no matter what. You know.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, and I like loved how not even just Robert Pattinson's role of Mickey's as the Mickeys and how his character changes. Naomi Ackie too. Like
Mm.
I love how she's able. Like Naomi Ackie is one of those actors. She could do like serious stuff, like kind of like Don't Blink, and be very dramatic and stuff like that. And but then she can switch on a dime and do this like crazy psychopath thing, which I've seen a lot of times in her roles. Like she's like one of those actresses. So like, oh, the role demands you like switch personalities and like turn on like a switch. Like she does that beautifully all the time. She's like starts out as a serious one in the relationship, and then somehow she's like, oh, like she becomes like commanding and stuff like that, which is funny. Or when she finds out, oh, she has two Mickeys, the fantasies just pop in her head. She goes, oh, screw the rules. I'm gonna have fun with this. Like I love that, like little switch, kind of thing she had going on too. And like you said, with the Tony Collette's character of Mark Ruffalo's wife, is very indicative to like the power that white women tend to have, like behind the scenes. Like it's not out there, but it's really like really overt. Where her character reminds me a bit of, it's not the same degree, but Zendaya's in Challengers, where she's actually controlling um both the males in it and pulling strings to their career and pushing for like, oh, I couldn't have success for this interest, and now I'm gonna drive you and control you to be my success, that kind of thing.
Mm.
And
Mm.
because the woman is pulling the strings behind the scenes, she doesn't have to have the guard of being referred to as a bitch or whatever, because she's not the one actually in power.
Mm. Yeah, it was giving Karen for sure. But also like those mommy bloggers, like the mommy blogger to like right-wing conspiracy pipeline that a lot of these ladies are on. Like that's what her character was giving to me. I was like, okay, I see
Mm.
where this is going. Um, but I also just love Rob and Naomi's chemistry. I thought they had like fantastic chemistry, and I love their relationship. It was really sweet. Uh, and even like Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette's relationship was also like pretty genuine. And I thought that was interesting that like as messed up as this world is, everyone was still able to like find someone who matched their freak. And I really thought that that was fun. I was like, oh, this is nice. Like it's a nice little. And there was like one doctor who was like a part of that little scientist group who also like really cared about the Mickeys and like tried to help,
Mm.
made the little translator for the animals, the creeps. Um, to me, this film kind of felt like a live action, like Studio Ghibli film where like things just kind of happen and you're like,
Happen, yeah.
huh? But then you're just like, okay. Like you're just gonna go with it. Like that's how I felt watching this movie. I was like, okay. And then they had the cute little, like the creeps were supposed to be creepy, but they were actually really cute, like little baby ones. And I was like, it's giving those little Totoros like that are in those movies, or I was just like, you just wanted to make a stuffed animal out of this and sell it. Like I know that's why you created these.
Yeah.
Like,
And their design is perfect because, like he said it's the same person he's worked with for since his movie The Host, designing
mhm,
monsters and stuff like that, and the intentional choice of making them look like it's very scary when they open their mouth. You don't see teeth, you just see tentacles, but your mind says,
yeah.
"Oh, those are teeth," and it goes to scary. Like to me, to look like I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but tedagars, or they're like little microscopic insects, whatever, look just like those. But I love the duality of them looking, so fearsome and scary and dangerous, but how docile they are. Looks can be deceiving, which once again is a socio-political thing hidden in there. Like the big bad monster that you think is a monster is not the actual monster. That
Right.
that kind of thing. So
Yeah. And like the creation of the device to communicate with them and the fact that they actually speak, it was giving like a very surrealist, like what? But I liked it. And I liked it because you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the things that appear in Arrival,
mm,
like the aliens that come down and they have this like modem of communication. And I think they eventually talk to Amy Adams, if I'm remembering the movie correctly. So it
mm,
was kind of giving me a little bit of that, which I thought it was kind of cool. Um, I will say I don't know if this movie needed an IMAX release. I watched an IMAX
mm.
and I didn't really get the IMAX experience of it until maybe like the last 30 minutes. So I don't know if it needed that. But sure. I guess.
I
I
mean,
guess.
the draw of the IMAX is, and I don't think this movie was actually shot in IMAX, a matter of
It's something
fact.
that did they use the cameras? Is that why?
So, but like the idea of like upscaling to IMAX is, oh, we can charge extra like $5 for this ticket and boost,
Yeah, they
prices and
got me.
and income. So, and they got you. So
Because I was like, oh, is it gonna be like? Because I'm like, this
so
is a big movie, so I was like, okay, well, I guess they must have shot on IMAX cameras. I guess they whatever. But then it wasn't like it didn't really do anything. You would not even think about it, the IMAX nature of it until like the very end, which I
mm,
do think is a little bit of a ripoff.
mm,
Not really. Because like for Chris Nolan to do like a historical biopic and have that be an IMAX, but you like feel the IMAX
yeah,
like it they first of all they shot with the cameras, but also like when you're in the theater, like all of it is a full experience, like
yeah.
watching Oppenheimer. This one you could have saw in a regular theater and probably be fine. So I don't know. They did get me, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah, but Nolan he shoots on IMAX because he likes the scope, and he intentionally, and not even it's not even using the camera for IMAX. He literally shoots with the idea of, I'm using this camera. Let me give you the visuals that best speak with this camera. So
Who
and
Bong?
that no, Nolan.
Oh, okay,
That's what I'm
yeah.
saying. Like, just like just because it's released in IMAX doesn't mean it works with um IMAX necessarily. I think if you're gonna shoot that camera, you have to be intentional with what you're shooting with.
Yeah.
You have to fill the screen with visuals, and so what majority of this movie is, much like Snowpiercer, it's a black object set against a white background for the most part. So I don't really think it necessitates the IMAX format. So
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. Even though I thought everything looked fantastic, like I thought the camera movements were really smooth. I thought everything was pretty intentional in terms of what we were seeing.
hmm,
Um, I I don't know. I liked how it looked a lot. Like it looks really good. It's
hmm,
just that like it didn't to me it didn't warrant the IMAX thing because it didn't bring anything. Like when you're watching a movie and then your like chair is shaking and you feel like so
hmm,
involved. Like that's not really how this movie felt. That's not even like the chair was not shaking, like, and nothing was moving. It was just like towards the very end during the action sequences, that stuff came in a little bit more. But like, I don't know, it's such a small part of the film that I don't think you can justify it
yeah,
in that way. But other than that, I did think that it was a really good film. And I hope more people go see it because I just feel like
yeah.
I
It's
feel
it's
I think it's an important. I feel like we need these kind of movies. So I just yeah.
it's in the vein of like the creator, with John David Washington, that kind of sci-fi move stuff.
It's much
And
better than that
it's
one
much
though. Yeah.
the creator has slowly grown on me though, to a
Oh,
degree.
has it? Okay.
Yeah.
I
But
haven't
it's
revisited.
it's it's much like in that vein of sci-fi, where they're trying to create new stories, like very much like Ad Astra vibes I got from it. Um
Mhm.
what's the movie with the girl? She's an actress, she's a model, but she Carla Devine, her and Dane, I forgot the boy's last name, had a movie a couple years ago that I watched. I enjoyed it so much, in the veins of trying to create like original IPs and properties using sci-fi, but sci-fi in itself is always gonna have some kind of socio-political themes inherent to it, no matter what. That's
Yeah.
just the genre.
Hmm.
Yeah, I loved it. I wish it could have been released when it was supposed to be released, like you said, like this movie, like being delayed multiple times. Had it come out initially when it was posted, probably like 2000, 23, 24, probably would have
Hmm.
worked a lot better in the box office. Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast because the 16 millimeter Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.